This will be a demonstration of migrating a containerized application running on OpenShift on x86 or distributed infrastructure to OpenShift running on IBM LinuxONE using Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management for Kubernetes or ACM. So we have this application running on x86. Each one of these icons represents a separate deployment, a different microservice that is running as a container. If I launch the front end route to my application, you can see that this is a WebSphere Liberty Java application. And if I go to the main endpoint here, we'll see that it's a sample banking application where I can log in as a user. I can do things like look at my account balances. I can update my customer profile. I can transfer funds. I can look at my transaction history, and then I can log off. So it's a sample banking application running in Java. And there's also a Postgres database container running in OpenShift as well. So it's all running on x86, and I want to migrate that to IBM LinuxONE. And a prerequisite for doing so, at least in the way that I'm doing it, is to build multi-architecture container image manifests files. So you can see in my container image repository for my front end container as an example, I have both a S390X version of my container and an AMD 64 version of my container. And even though these were built with the same source code, you do need to build a specific container image for each architecture that you want the application to run on, because container images are architecture dependent. But what you can do is create a manifest file like I have here that looks and acts like any other container image, but it's really just a pointer at my two real container images, one of them being on the IBM LinuxONE architecture and one being for the x86 or distributed infrastructure. And once you deploy this manifest file to either one of the architecture clusters, it will deploy the proper architecture container image for you. So you can see in my sample application GitHub repository, which is public and you can explore on your own time, under my front end, I have a YAML file here that includes a deployment, which is actually going to deploy my application. And I'm referencing that multi-architecture container image file as my image, right? So when I deploy this on x86, it'll run the AMD 64 version and vice versa. In my Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management or ACM console, you can see that I have various applications deployed. The one that I'll be using today is my Megabank application set, which is really an Argo CD concept. So you can apply this to Argo CD or Flux CD rather than ACM if you prefer. And to migrate my application, all I have to do is go into the placement rules that determine where the YAML file gets placed or which clusters it deploys to. And right now you can see I have this rule where it's deploying to any cluster with the label architecture equals x86. And that's why it's on my x86 cluster and not my IBM LinuxONE cluster. If I reverse that and select LinuxONE and deselect x86, hit next and then hit submit, the next time that my ACM application set syncs, which is set to 30 seconds for this example, we can see that it is dropping off of my x86 cluster and spinning up those same container images on IBM LinuxONE. And it looks like they're all up and running now. I can launch my application here. You can see that it's also the same Liberty version. And if I go to the main endpoint here, we see the same application. Again, it is the same source code, and we can do the same exact functionality, except now we get the benefits of the IBM LinuxONE platform. If you wanted to, you could do something like select a placement for both architectures, right? So you can have the same application deployed across both architecture clusters. So let's do that, and we'll wait for it to sync up again. And now you can see that you don't have to run your applications on one architecture or the other. You can let it run on both architecture clusters at the same time. Okay, that's the demo. Thanks for watching.